Mates, howdy. Good morning. It is Sunday, October 3rd, 2021, and I am visiting a whole new preserve that I have never been to until today. Forgive me for talking rather quietly, but at a preserve like this, I'm required to stay a bit more quiet, just to basically respect the rules and the wildlife that is also found here. So, what I'm visiting today is the 6 Mile Cypress Slough. Now, for the name that's given, that describes quite a bit in one specific title. Now, the first part of the title, Big Cypress, basically describes a type of deciduous conifer that is found in Florida. I think I already took a picture, but I think we kind of passed that little portion. But Bald Cypress oftentimes will form buttresses, which is basically like a base to the tree that allows it to remain stabilized on the ground. Now, part of the reason they call it the 6 Mile is given the fact that settlers back in the early 1900s, for those who were traveling to get to Fort Myers, they would have to pass through this type of habitat. And now that's where it ties in to the ending of the title, a slough. Now, sometimes when people read Slew, some people think it's pronounced Slough, but rest assured that is not how it's pronounced. You may think it is because it's spelled S-L-O-U-G-H, but it's Slew. Now, a slough basically describes a type of forested wetland. Think of it as sort of like a type of swamp. But here's the difference. The water is mostly freshwater, and even though it doesn't look like the water's moving, it actually is, but it's very slow. Now, these types of habitats actually allow to store any excessive water, especially when it comes from rain. Kind of think of the slough as something of a reservoir, but a natural one at that, where you have a chance to see the native plants and even the trees as well. Like, for instance, to my left, right down here, see that plant that has those purplish flowers right here? That is a pickerel weed. Now, what's so important about these flowers is given the fact that they have the capability to filter out any phosphates, which is one of those nutrients that really exacerbates the well-known harmful algal bloom called the red tide. Now, with that being said, the slough is so important, and essentially the water that is here will eventually feed into the Estero Bay, and then eventually into the Gulf. So it's all a prolonged process. And we're essentially getting into that transition where we're kind of starting to get into the dry season. But in a sense, we're still in the wet season too. We're kind of like at that transition right now. So that's another thing that characterizes a slough, is the water levels tend to they tend to fluctuate depending on how the weather acts, right? But some of you may think, okay, since we're at like basically a swamp or a slough, some of you may think, well, Do I really need to get bug spray? Do I have to be concerned for mosquitoes? Well, actually, I have some good news, mates. At a place like this, you really don't have to worry too much about mosquitoes. Do you know why? Is the question. Well, as it turns out, the mosquito larva is oftentimes fed on by our fellow homies, whether it be spiders, fish, or even other insects that inhabit the 6 Mile Cypress Slough. Now, with that being said, it's actually a good thing that the mosquitoes are fed on, because that keeps their populations in check. But yeah, right where I'm looking at right now is something called Gator Lake. Apparently that's the well-known feature that's also found along the boardwalk trail. So this is mostly a freshwater lake that is very high in tannic acid, which gives it a bit of that tea color to it. So rest assured, this is a natural color for the body of water. By no means is it polluted in any way, or at least in a smaller scale. Wow. It is absolutely gorgeous this morning to be out here. Let you guys just take it in for a sec. So peaceful. It's alright, you guys. Hope you learned something of value regarding what the slough really provides for us. It essentially acts as a reservoir in nature to store excess water to reduce runoff, and it's also a great nursery too for our wildlife. But yeah, this is kind of like a miniature version of the Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary, so this is really cool. Just glad I was able to come down here. So alright, you guys, enjoy your Sunday and journey on a journey. It's outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.